Did you know that Ronald Speirs shooting prisoners in World War II wasn't just a rumor? In the early 2000s, Major Dick Winters revealed that the allegations against Speirs were true. In an interview conducted with PA State Representative John Payne, Winters explained that prior to the publication of Stephen Ambrose's 1992 book, Band of Brothers, Simon & Schuster was worried about potential lawsuits. One area of concern was the allegation that Ronald Speirs had shot German prisoners of war. Dick Winters said that he telephoned Ronald Speirs, who casually admitted it was true. Speirs even offered to put it in writing in a letter, and he sent the letter to Winters. However, while Dick Winters confirmed that Ronald Speirs did shoot prisoners in World War II, Winters didn't go into detail about whether he knew if the specific rumor presented in Band of Brothers was true, that Ronald Speirs approached a group of guarded German prisoners and shot them with his Thompson submachine gun after first giving them cigarettes. It seems like it's Hollywood fiction, the kind of scene a screenwriter adds to heighten the drama and exaggerate Speirs' reputation of being a killer who was feared by the men. However, you might be surprised to learn that this specific rumor didn't just materialize out of thin air. It had circulated among the men of Easy Company, and more broadly the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, for decades. You'll find the rumor repeated in books, including Stephen Ambrose's book on which the miniseries is based, in which he states that he heard it from many sources, including Lieutenant Tom Gibson. However, despite himself telling the story many times, Gibson noted, "We all know war stories seem to have a life of their own. They have a way of growing, of being embellished. Whether the details are precise or not, there must be a kernel of truth for such a story to ever have been told the first time." Dick Winters alludes to this incident in his book as well, but what becomes clear is that no one is on record as having been present when it happened. There is a soldier on record as having witnessed Speirs shoot unarmed Germans on D-Day, as I'll explain later in this video, but that was immediately after encountering them and realizing there was no place to take prisoners, a story that wasn't uncommon on D-Day on both sides. Is it possible that that incident grew into the somewhat more controversial rumor that is discussed in Band of Brothers? I've long wondered just that, but then I recently came across a video of Easy Company veteran Don Malarkey speaking at a 2010 event at a church in West Salem, Oregon. If you recall, Malarkey was portrayed by actor Scott Grimes in Band of Brothers. In the video, which was posted on YouTube by Mel Cook, Don Malarkey describes how in episode 2 of Band of Brothers, titled Day of Days, they depict him befriending a German prisoner. He said that while that depiction is accurate, Lieutenant Speirs didn't then come along and execute the prisoner along with a number of others after first passing out cigarettes. That part is fiction. However, Don Malarkey said that an identical event involving Lieutenant Ronald Speirs did happen several days later, but with a different group of prisoners, when Easy Company was on the outskirts of Carentan, France. In the clip you're about to watch, Malarkey states that he was so close when it happened, he could hear the Tommy gun fire from the rear, which he was told was Lieutenant Ronald Speirs.
In the series that they show me leaving them, and then they show a lieutenant from D Company walking up to these guys and giving them a cigarette, and then walking back across the road and turning around and gunning them down. I don't know that happened right there. I know it happened later, attacking Carentan, France. But the guy that they were playing there was Lieutenant Ronald Speirs, who became E Company commander at Bastogne, Belgium later on. But he was a pretty tough nut, and he did some pretty tough stuff. And so I don't know that he really shot these guys down. But later on, as we were attacking Carentan, France, E Company was on the outskirts of Carentan. We'd crossed the Douve River straits, and as we were on the edge of Carentan, behind us was D Company, and all of a sudden we could hear a bunch of Tommy gun firing going on, and we yelled back through ranks, what was going on, because we had just passed through there. And when the report came back, they said said that they told the story about Ronald Speirs having, you know, the Germans that come up out of the ditches and surrendered, and then he did what they claim he did on D-Day, but it probably happened on our attack in Carentan, France. But anyway, he became our company commander, and he was pretty tough to deal with. I respected him, but I was leery of him.
Don Malarkey's account is the most credible I've heard regarding the rumor that Ronald Speirs shot a group of prisoners after first giving them cigarettes, which is the rumor that's repeated in Band of Brothers. While Malarkey's account is still technically secondhand, it was relayed to him through the ranks minutes after it happened. There was very little time for it to be contorted and exaggerated. If you want to watch Malarkey's full 2010 talk in Oregon, I'll put the link to Mel Cook's video in the description. It's worth checking out. Is Don Malarkey's account in the clip you just watched enough to definitively prove that the most controversial rumor about Ronald Speirs is true? Not exactly, but the clip does offer a detailed recollection of when and where the incident took place, as well as someone who actually heard the gunfire and was told almost immediately that the noise he had heard was Speirs executing prisoners. The books that mention the incident, including Stephen Ambrose's book, Dick Winter's memoir, and others, mention it only as a rumor, and they vary considerably. Other than Don Malarkey, no one has claimed that they were within earshot of Speirs. Instead, they heard the story at some point later from someone else, who often heard the story from some other person, etc. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a first-hand account of Ronald Speirs shooting German prisoners in World War II. It's the account of a 19-year-old private from Ohio named Art DiMarzio. According to DiMarzio, who jumped with Ronald Speirs on D-Day, he was with Speirs and Sergeant Floyd J. Carentan when they spotted 3 German soldiers walking down a road not long after they landed. They hid in a ditch on the side of the road and then leapt out, each man tackling an unsuspecting German. A brief scuffle ensued before the 3 American paratroopers overpowered the German soldiers, who were still trying to figure out what was going on. To ease tensions and relax their new captives, they offered the German soldiers cigarettes. Speirs then addressed his 2 subordinates in a stern manner, explaining to them, "We're going to have to take them out. We can't take them with us." He ordered his 2 subordinates to each shoot a prisoner, and Speirs would take out the 3rd man himself. This was the unfortunate reality of the chaos of the Normandy landings. In many cases, taking prisoners was not an option, as the paratroopers were scattered with no rear elements and no way to manage prisoners. It was either kill them or let them go, to potentially later kill you or one of your comrades. Don Malarkey himself recalled that General Maxwell Taylor had told them that taking prisoners would hinder their ability to carry out their mission, and historians have discovered that many U.S. units were ordered to take no prisoners during the D-Day landings in Normandy. Similarly, Hitler had ordered that all special forces, including paratroopers, be shot on sight. A few hours after they had shot the 3 German troops on D-Day, Private Art DiMarzio and Lieutenant Ronald Speirs had departed from the Marmion farm, which had become a major gathering point for scattered troops. Men from various segments of Dog Company left the farm with them. As they headed toward Ottoville, they encountered 4 unarmed German soldiers. This time, Speirs shot them himself. It is mainly this second incident that started the rumors about Lieutenant Ronald Speirs. Whether the most controversial rumor about Speirs shooting prisoners, the one repeated in Band of Brothers, is true, we may never know for sure, but I hope that the recollection of Don Malarkey helped to provide a bit more insight. If you want to hear Dick Winter's comments about Ronald Speirs shooting prisoners, which I referenced earlier, check out the video linked on the screen. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Anchors away, my friends.